On today's episode of Titus and Tate, we are back from vacation, and oh my God, did we miss a lot, Tate?
I think we missed everything. I think a lot
Poorly
happened.
timed vacation, if I may say so. I think everything. Let's see here. The lottery happened. The Detroit Pistons are getting the number one pick in the draft. The NBA Combine is going on.
Yes,
there are winners and losers happening within the Combine. We can suss that out if you'd like.
Yep.
Anthony Hardaway, otherwise known as Penny, has his name floated for the Orlando Magic coaching job.
Seriously floated. We joked about it, but now it's seriously being floated.
It's seriously being floated, and he is not unfloating it in the way that Juwan Howard.
He's pushing it up.
He's pumping that thing full of more hot air and saying, "Float that bitch." What else we got? The Wisconsin basketball program is in shambles. The ACC Big Ten tournament, or not tournament, the ACC Big Ten Challenge, I'm sorry. The matchup's been announced, and Coach K is headed to a place that I know very well, and I am excited about that. Name, image, likeness appears to be a go. I have fraud power rankings. What else is there, Tate? There's 1,000 things we have to get to.
Well, you buried the lead. NC State had a CWS title stolen from them in front of America. So we have to talk about this because State fans and myself, we're all very fired up, and we got to fight the good fight, Titus. So that's what we're also here to do.
We always have our finger on the pulse of Pack Pride. And,
yes.
I can imagine Pack Pride is not.
They are going to storm the NCAA offices by the end of the week.
We're gonna do our best to get to everything we have missed during our week off. But first,
Woody Durham.
All right, we are back after a week off. Did not feel like a week off, I'm being honest. It goes very fast, but I think we timed it poorly, as I said at the top. But at the same time, it was much needed. I feel refreshed. I feel excited to be back. You are in North Carolina right now.
Yes.
Is that correct? What did you do with your time off?
I flew back home to see my family, went to the lake, hung out with them. But as I mentioned at the top of the show, Titus, I could not relax because NC State had a national title taken from them right in our faces. And, being boots on the ground, being in North Carolina, I feel for the NC State Wolfpack. I feel for the baseball team. I feel for Elliott Avent. And it's all I've heard about, Titus. My neighbor was a big State fan, came over yesterday, upset about, the players not taking the timeout to get back. I mean, there's all types of conversations happening in North Carolina, and it's all about NC State baseball. Who would have thought that this many people cared? Because during basketball season, I don't hear anything. Yeah. But right now, during baseball season, they're everywhere. So it's been a lot of fun.
I get the feeling that outside of your immediate family, you're more exposed to NC State fans when you go back home. At least that's my read on it. Is that true?
Well, I'll say this. I think in the 1980s, North Carolina was the University of the people of North Carolina, right? So my parents, were able to go to North Carolina. It was more of and now North Carolina's kind of bumped up a notch. And now NC State, I think, is more of the University of the people in quotations, where the common man, the neighbor, he may be a huge State fan. And that used to kind of be like a North Carolina thing. Duke and North Carolina. Duke is obviously
was always like the prestigious, and North Carolina was like the everyman university
for everybody, and
now Duke is a public or North Carolina's public Duke, basically.
Yes, it's a public Ivy, and North Carolina State, has taken up their stature here in the state, and it's honestly great because you don't hear much, like I said, during football season, during basketball season. But when things like this happen, when bass fishing is popping up, this is the time that State fans really like to stick their chest out. And for the first time, Titus, I feel for them. I really do. And if you're listening to local radio right now in Raleigh, you're having a real fun time.
Explain to the people at home that are not aware of what happened.
Yes.
Is it just a case of NC State tested positive for COVID? Is that basically it? Did the same thing happen to them that happened to the Ohio State basketball team in the NCAA tournament where they had to withdraw?
Yeah, VCU and Ohio State, of course, both had to remove themselves from the tournament. What could have been if they got to play?
If only.
If only. The full story is too long to really get into, but to give you the kind of the Spark Notes version, North Carolina State was on track, destined to win a national championship. They were going up against Vanderbilt.
Were they really, or is this?
I think that they were. I really do. I will say I have to give State fans their props. I thought that they had the team. They looked like the team of destiny, so to speak. And then, NC State fans, I've seen this meme everywhere. All they wanted was positive results, right? That's all they've been waiting for. Positive results. And they finally got the wrong positive results. Only NC State can get the wrong positive results. And as Donald Trump told us once, positive is actually negative. So it was negative results. And now, they had 13 players play in game 2 against Vanderbilt. And then, of course, Titus, America was on NC State's side. They're saying this is wrong. Yeah. They were doing the Jay Billis. Like, these kids should be allowed to play. There's 24,000 fans here. They're not getting tested. Right. Is Vanderbilt getting tested? And then, as NC State does, they have found out, Titus, that the person in charge of the medical team for the NCAA, I guess, went to Vanderbilt. So now it's turned full conspiracy. And the poor AD is named Boo. And I promise you, his name is Boo, B-O-O. So he is like, they are booing Boo because he did not come out and stringently say that he is going to sue the NCAA and go at their neck, because again, they are under investigation for Dennis Smith Jr.
Right.
So it's not quite the time to be going at the NCAA when you're under investigation, but that is what the State fans want.
I disagree. I think this is a perfect time. I think this is a perfect time to go after the NCAA, because I think the way NC State comes out of this, a huge winner, is they are the first program, the first school to break free from the NCAA. I think that's what, I think I see the future, Tate. And when you and I are old and gray and we're assessing the landscape of college sports, I think there is a time in our lifetime where the NCAA no longer exists, or as it exists is fundamentally different. It is, they blow up their core principles of basically amateurism and give Duke an easy path to a college basketball title. Like those things get blown up, and what we know the NCAA to be is completely changed, right? So if we know that's where we're headed, if we know that there's probably going to be a new governing body formed, why doesn't NC State get ahead of this?
Yeah,
be the first school to announce, the first school to secede. It's going to be rough for a few years. Like they're you're going to have to play games. Yeah, you're going to have to play community colleges, I think, for like the first 5 to 10 years. But history will look back and be like, thank God for the Wolfpack being brave enough to, at long last, stand up to the corruption of the NCAA. Right?
I've always personally thought that the secession, so to speak, was going to happen like this. We're at a game, we're at the SEC championship game, and they all start chanting SEC, but they keep going and they go EDE, SEC, EDE. And that's how they let the world know that they are going to secede from the NCAA. So I think that NC State, maybe the first move is to pivot out of the ACC, get to the SEC, and then they lead that charge. But I think you're right. They are on the verge right now. I mean, I've seen Dave Portnoy come out and support them. They have like the worst Avengers that are getting together to get on their side. And I mean, I think at some point we're going to get to where they're talking about secession, and we're going to be right there for the ride, because this is long from over. I'm hoping that they hang the banner. I think that's the next move. Hang the banner.
Just hang the banner. Yeah. I would do that. I do think that NC State, in all seriousness, it feels like as a program, as a school, they have no home right now. They have no, like the Duke and Carolina have now just completely dominated the triangle. The research rhombus has been dominated by Duke and Carolina. They overshadow NC State to where it's not even. When we were growing up, at least as an outsider who didn't live in North Carolina, it did feel like the three of them. NC State was like maybe a half tier down, but like they were still
up there. They're still competing. Yeah.
They're not anymore. Like in terms of national relevance, it's Duke and Carolina. They've been overshadowed there. They are overshadowed in the ACC as a whole. Even if they went to the SEC, they're going to be like their whole existence is overshadowed, and then they still get treated like they still are big enough. They're small enough to where they're not competing for national titles. They're big enough to where they're landing 5 stars and getting put on probation for it.
Yes.
They have a baseball program that's good enough to make the World Series.
Their team's incredible. The baseball team isn't. They're a very, very good team.
You know what I'm saying? They live in this like no man's land where I think if you're an NC State person, you have to say enough is enough. Like we're sick of this, and I think we're very close to them being at this point where they just throw their hands up and they say, screw it. We're just going to play like community colleges in North Carolina for 10 years and dominate them and hang banners every single year that we're the best team in the country.
It's all your school's fault, by the way, because the Ohio State is who they think they are. You know what I mean? They see you guys and they see
State.
They see State. They see red. They see they're like, that's us. We are the state school here. God. That should be us. And so I blame you guys at the end of the day.
Dude, that sucks. That really does suck for the.
It does suck. It sucks
team,
for the players. And
it's so stupid.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, it all is very stupid. And I think that's why, we have the people losing their minds, right? Because it does. This is probably the last
we
time.
should be past this. Like we should be past this. Like
exactly.
We all thought we were past this and we're not. And now we're back to arguing of like, God, I thought that the last time was the last time that we would talk
we all
about.
thought VCU was the last time.
Yeah, we were like, thank God we'll never have to discuss COVID in sports and what the protocol should be and shouldn't be and how.
And John Rahm, he goes from getting kicked out of his last tournament because of testing positive, then he wins the U.S. Open. We kind of come full circle. You know what I mean? It felt
Chris
like
Paul,
we were turning the corner.
What the hell happened there? Like who really knows what the story was? I still don't really understand what the story was. I thought for sure he was going to be out for like one day and then be back for game one. And then he ends up missing 2 games, and we're still not sure. Like, did he have COVID? Is he vaccinated? Like, nobody knows. And the point is like, I'm so far removed from caring about discussing like whether Chris Paul had COVID or who was he around? How many people were at that party? How many? So you said 12-person party. How many were masked? Okay, how many were vaccinated of the unmasked? How many? Like, no one wants to do that anymore.
Nobody.
And yet still we're having these stupid discussions about, oh man, thoughts and prayers to the NC State Wolfpack. In all seriousness, that blows. That absolutely blows.
In my mind, forever 2021 champs. That's all I got to say.
Hang the banner.
Yeah,
hang the banner. Make this the first step to success, to secession. Just get out of the
SEC-EDE.
What do we want to talk about first, other than NC State in the world of basketball? Let's say.
Let's talk about the ACC Big Ten Challenge, because I think that's the big news of the day. Because for the listeners at home, you probably heard us talk about prospective matchups, because this year everything's about Coach K. Everything's about the farewell tour, TM, trademarked. It's happening, and everyone wanted Maryland. They wanted Duke to go back to deal with the Maryland Terrapins fans, the fans that were chanting horrible things at JJ Redick back in the day. This was going to be the perfect setup, but Coach K avoids that. But instead, he comes home to the Ohio State Buckeyes. That is a W.
He avoids playing at Maryland, and he ends up playing at an even tougher environment. Some would say the most, the loudest, the most fierce, the most.
Bring him to the shot.
Bring him to the Jerome Schottenstein Center that holds 28,000 people, and you can hear 7 of them.
We're going, right? Can we just say that?
Yeah, we're gonna go.
Okay.
We're gonna go.
Right.
We're gonna definitely go. I think this is great for the Boo brothers. As I said to you as soon as I saw the news, I was like, this is too perfect for us. And I should say, Ohio State, depending on what Dwayne Washington and EJ Liddell end up doing, which I think my read on it, and this is not a source, this is not a Tate Frazier inside source breaking news. This is just my read on the situation. I think Dwayne's gone. I think Dwayne's going to stay in the draft, which I'm not happy about, but it is what it is. And I love the kid, and he's really good. If EJ stays in the draft, I'm devastated.
Me too.
Because he has to come back. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, if those 2 guys come back, whether they come back or not, but EJ has to.
What does Coach K know? How did Coach K? Coach K knows they're not coming back.
What I'm trying to say is, Tate, if everything goes the way I want it to, Ohio State should be like a top 10 team at least. This is going to be an awesome game. I'm very, very excited for it, and I'm excited that Ohio State might have the opportunity to hand Coach K his final ACC Big Ten loss. And I was thinking about this, because we're going to play Duke in the regular season. That means when the NCAA tournament rolls around, we're probably not going to get put in Duke's bracket or put they'll probably try to avoid it if they can. Maybe they won't be able to. You understand what I'm saying here? If they're a 1 and a 2 seed, they're not probably going to put us in the same bracket. So I realized that by Ohio State playing Duke in the ACC Big Ten matchup, Ohio State is not going to be the team that beats Duke in the NCAA tournament. And then I started thinking about it more, and I was like, oh my God, would that? I ask you as the Coach K guy on the program, would you rather be known as the program that ended Coach K's run? That was the last game you beat Coach K in the Sweet 16 or the Elite Eight, whatever.
You get me fired up.
Or would you rather win the 2022 national title?
Oh, it's kind of like, do you want to be Loyola of this year? You know what I mean? Yeah. Do I want to knock out the team that
Who
was
do you think's going to be remembered more? Wouldn't that be hilarious if Gonzaga wins the title next year, but no one remembers it because they just remember that Oregon upsets Duke or something?
It's kind of like Cameron Krutwig, you know what I mean? If you ask like the casual fan, that's like the face they may remember from this tournament. And that could be, legends last forever. And if you knock out Coach K, my big ask is that if you're the NCAA, you put North Carolina and Duke on a collision course in the tournament this year because they've never played in the tournament. That is the history that we all need for Coach K's final run. I want it. I know Coach K doesn't want it, but I think this year, whoever knocks out K, because K thinks he's going to win the title, that is winning a NC State national championship. You know what I mean? That is a hang the banner moment. We knocked out Coach K in his final effort. It has to be a likable team though, because if a team beats Duke playing Duke basketball, I feel like that's going to be hard for America to get behind, but it's still Duke.
Yeah, I got the perfect team for you. LSU.
I don't even think I can get behind that, but it would be hilarious.
Will Wade kills Coach K.
Will Wade finally shows he's a good coach.
Oh man, I was thinking about that though, man. Like that's gonna be something to monitor in this year's tournament because I really do believe. It sounds stupid. It's like, of course, you'd rather win a national title, and like the players and coaches would. But I'm saying as a fan, like, what are you going to talk about more as a fan?
Well, what are we going to talk about more in our program? That's kind of the real question. So the team that knocks out Coach K, that's for sure.
I've already seen the articles of like what's next for Scott Drew now that he won a national title. Like there's already. I don't know how much weight you put into it, but there's already people out there, and whether they're important or not, who cares? But the point is, I'm already seeing articles being written about like what does Scott Drew do next? Where does he go from here? And in my mind, I'm like, the man won a national title. Like that's what he does next. Is he reminds everybody, I won the national championship. That I had one of the greatest teams of all. Like that's what you do next. But there's always the next. There's always the like. Fast forward 5 years from now, and the conversation about Scott Drew. We'll be right back where we started. Is he a good coach? Was that a fluke?
Yep.
Did he just win the Mickey Mouse tournament? Is that the only one he won?
Especially if like Davion Mitchell and Jared Butler become like stars in the NBA. Yes. Like this guy had 2 All-Stars on his team.
Yeah, well, no wonder he won. Like, he got carried to the, but you beat Coach K. You Coach K's final game, you humiliate it, especially if it's like the first or second round.
Yes.
You live
first
forever.
round. We're asking forever. I'm asking for a Mercer, for a Lehigh. Like I'm asking for that experience where it's like the little guy, Belmont might be my team. Like if Belmont knocks out Duke, I am with Coach Titus. I'm a Belmont fan for life.
Coach Titus is pumping his fist right now listening to this. All right, so let's go through the ACC Big Ten matchups. I tiered this for you because I know it's the offseason. We have not tiered things in a long time, and I want to get you excited. I want to get the listeners at home excited about college basketball tiers back in their life. I went through all these matchups. I tiered them out so you can make sense of them, Tate. So here we go. Tier 1 is I am calling this the games that actually determine who is the best conference. So in my mind, these are the only games that matter. The rest of them, we'll add them all up. We'll decide who wins. One conference won 9 and one won 5. So that means
I like that.
No.
Games that actually matter.
These are the ones that matter. These are the ones that actually determine who the best. This is tier 1. This is all that matters. Duke at Ohio State.
Yep.
Both going to be very good teams. Coach K's final ACC
farewell
challenge.
tour. Yeah.
Ohio State hungry for
to make up for that exit from the NCAA tournament.
For not being able to play in the NCAA tournament. I have Michigan at UNC.
Ooh.
The battle of the
former player who loves his alma mater so much.
Yes.
Who loves their alma mater more? Hubert Davis, Juwan Howard.
Who definitely is not interested in NBA jobs, so quit asking. But also, what NBA jobs did you say again? Did you say not
say Dame Lillard? Did you say Portland?
You didn't. Okay, you're saying Oklahoma City. Okay, never mind. Then not interested. Not in Orlando. No, not interested. Not interested. No, thank you.
Yeah, nope.
Michigan at UNC, and finally, Florida State at Purdue.
Ooh.
I have those three as tier one. I think those are the three games that matter most. I think whatever conference wins 2 out of those 3 is actually the best conference. Your thoughts?
And Florida State at Purdue might be the best game out of those 3, to be quite honest. I think that, you and I, we're going to probably color our favorite to the first 2 games because of our inclination to do so on this program. But again, those are going to be 2 great games. But the Purdue fans seem to think they're a top 5 team.
I think they are. I think Purdue's the best team in the Big Ten entering the season. Put me down for that. I think Purdue should be the best team in the Big Ten. I think
this has nothing to do with Mackey Arena. Nothing
and
to do with
my big swing. I don't know how I feel about it, but I'm gonna let the words come out of my mouth, and then I'm gonna let it marinate, and I'll see how I feel about it. I think Jay Knight might be the best player in the Big Ten.
Ooh, I like that.
That didn't sound that bad. I said it. I heard myself say it, and I didn't think it was that. I don't. Purdue,
if we're being honest, Jaden should probably be in the NBA draft right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So it's going to be good to have him back.
He balled out in the one game Purdue, the North Texas game. I think like in Jaden Ivey's mind, they were gonna go on an Elite 8 run. He was gonna be awesome, and then he was gonna bounce and go first round, and that didn't happen. They lost in the first round, so he was back. But yeah, Purdue's going to be really good. So those are 3.
That's a great top 3 games, by the way.
How do you feel about Carolina? How do you feel about Carolina getting Michigan?
I mean,
all right, moving on.
Yeah, I'm kind of scared of Michigan in general. Being a Carolina fan,
you guys play them every year in this thing, don't you?
Yeah, and it's it doesn't go well. I mean, sometimes we're back and forth, we're hot and cold. The ACC Big Ten Challenge has never been something that I necessarily look forward to. Right? It usually like we would always go up to Assembly Hall and just get blown out by whatever team that they had up there. So I kind of have my reservations, but when you look at this North Carolina team with Baycott and Brady Manick and Hubert Davis in his first run, we have a lot of familiar faces and a lot of vets. So I'm fingers crossed. And I do think that Baycott will have his way with Hunter Dickinson. And I'm going to go ahead and say that on the air to get ahead of this, because I want it to be thrown back in my face when Hunter Dickinson has 30 and 15 and dominates Carolina. So, that game, that's a stay away from me. Let's go to tier 2.
I do think that you mentioned something that you don't get that excited about this, or this isn't that important to you, or whatever, however you phrased it. There is like an element of this where it feels like interleague play in baseball, where the luster has sort of worn off. Because like when the ACC Big Ten Challenge started, it was the coolest thing on earth, because teams that Duke would never schedule, suddenly they have to play in the Breslin Center, and Duke is playing in Assembly Hall, and you're seeing Ohio State playing in the Dean Dome. You're like, this game would never happen unless it was mandated that it would happen. This is awesome. And it was giving us these awesome matchups, and you're seeing uniforms in gyms you've never seen before, or you rarely see. And now I feel like we've seen it all. And now like I've seen the Cubs play the Red Sox before. I've seen the Cardinals and Yankees have played. Cool. I don't need to, like the excitement is sort of worn off. Like it's still interesting that it's happening, but that initial wave is
it used
gone.
To blow your mind. When you would see it. At least I will say, at least it's not like the MTEs, which I'm not sure if we're even saying that word anymore. MTEs, the whatever, their made up version for these invitationals that they create. At least we're not at a neutral site. I think those are the games that really have no value, where you're watching, Oregon play Michigan in the Bahamas, or in, Oklahoma City.
Except the Maui Invitational.
Well, of course. Well, the Maui Invitational and the Great Alaskan Shootout are totally different things. You know what I'm saying?
Those are MTEs.
No. Are you kidding me? The Maui Invitational would never call itself something so stupid. But that to me, like the one thing we have going is that we have to go to these other schools and we have to see them play in the other arenas, and that makes it nice and quaint. But also the fact that the scoring system over the years, people just seem like they aren't as invested as they used to be, and like the Big Ten's bragging rights or the ACC's bragging rights, like nobody cares until we get to the tournament and see how many games each conference has won, and then they start bragging. It's not like
I feel like last year kind of killed. Kind of killed it because the Big Ten was the best league all year. And if you ask people why the Big Ten was the best league all year, you'd point to the ACC Big Ten Challenge and be like, look what they did. Look at the Big Ten. Look how good they are. Fast forward to the NCAA tournament, and yikes.
It's gone.
Tier 2 of these ACC Big Ten matchup games, I'm calling these the resume builders. I'm calling these the team and the conference resume. Like we just said, how do we know the Big Ten is the best conference? Look back at remember when Indiana took Florida State to overtime at Florida State? That's how we know Big Ten's the best.
Yeah.
I know they lost, but like they took them to overtime. Remember that game?
That was a great game.
That was a great game.
Yeah.
So these are all the games that come February, March on an individual team level. We'll look back and say,
man, Iowa's a lot better than you thought.
Yeah. Because remember what that time in December, first week of December, they beat that other team.
Yeah.
But also as a conference, we're going to use these games, however these sort out, will be used to determine who the better conference is for resume. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I have Indiana at Syracuse on that list. I have Virginia Tech at Maryland. I have Louisville at Michigan State. And finally, I have Notre Dame at Illinois, where Illinois we've covered this extensively in the offseason. Illinois has lost every single player involved with their team except for like Trent Frazier and Andre Curbelo. And every coach, every player is gone. But Brad Underwood, Curbelo, and Frazier, they're back. So Illinois is going to be better than the experts might think, but are they going to be that good? We don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Also, I want to point out Notre Dame, talking about Maui earlier, in this game, Notre Dame at Illinois. Notre Dame will be fresh off the Maui bump. Notre Dame will be in Maui. Mike Brey will have his shirt off. The Irish will be back, and they'll be rolling into this game. They'll be going into Champaign fresh off the Maui bump. I think Notre Dame's getting the Maui bump this year.
Yeah, I think so too. And Mike Brey, again, coming off the boos that he heard, in his own arena at the end of last year, where we had to call out Notre Dame fans and remind them that they don't even know what they have. You have to appreciate your coach. I think that Mike Brey, he's going to get back into center stage, and he's going to get back in center stage so hard that Duke fans are going to say, man, I wish we would have interviewed Mike Brey. That's what we want in the AC. We want that kind of momentum and that kind of energy where John Shire actually screws something up on the bench trying to tell Coach K that some player has 3 fouls. Banchero has 3 fouls, but he actually has 4 fouls. Then he fouls out of the game, and Coach K bites his head off. We should have hired Mike Brey. That's the energy I want at the start of the year for Mike Brey.
Are you ready to start the Shire and K beef this year?
100%. Yeah.
I think this would be good for us to start that Shire and K are having a power struggle all season. And
I'm waiting for the first report that Coach K is frustrated with his staff's inability to be flexible with him. John Shire takes an indefinite leave.
There's a rift in the locker room, and the other assistants are listening to Shire more than they're listening to K.
Yes.
That is why Duke lost at home to Georgia Tech by 7.
Yes, that's the only reason.
That's why. All right, tier 3. This is the pretend to care on paper because we all recognize the names of these programs, but in reality, nobody's going to actually watch any of these second of these games.
Yeah, love it.
Number 1, Iowa at Virginia. Great game on paper. Great. Iowa fans are awesome. National Player of the Year, Luka Garza. Virginia just won a national title. Tony Bennett, the one of the best programs in the ACC. Program
McCaffrey.
And also a program in the Big Ten that you know and love. All the boxes are checked, and we all know when the day comes, none of us are watching this game.
Yeah. It seems like a slow game. And it's also with Iowa, you tune in and you think, hey, where's CJ Frederick? Where's Joe Wieskamp? Where's Luka Garza? And then the only guy that runs out that you know is Jordan Bohannon. And you're like, oh. Not my tempo.
Yeah. And then the second game is Wisconsin at Georgia Tech. I'm putting that on the list as well. Georgia Tech, had a great season last year. We fell in love with that program. We fell in love with Josh Pastner.
Good guy of the year.
Wisconsin. Should we use this as a jumping off point to talk about the Wisconsin situation?
Yeah, I think so.
I was trying to stay offline when we were on vacation. But I had so many people blowing up my phone, like asking me, did I see this Greg Gard? What's your take on the Greg Gard? So I got online just enough to like read the bullet points. That's what I'm saying. Like I didn't listen to the whole thing. But I started listening to the audio of Greg and if you missed the story, Wisconsin players go into a meeting with Greg Gard, basically record this meeting where they're just bitching about stuff. And then they released the audio of them bitching to Greg Gard.
They released the tapes. Yeah.
After they edited it down to it was like 2 hours long. They edited it down to 37 minutes, released it to the media, and they're like, look at what a dick Greg Gard is. And my read on it, Tate, and again, I didn't really dive into the weeds of this. I just absorbed like the surface level stuff. this seems like a Bush League move on the player's part. Yeah, everyone wanted to bury Greg Gard, and I was like, this is a bad look for the players.
Yeah, and we got to be, we heard, I can't remember, was that two years ago in Minnesota, the Final Four in 2019?
Yeah.
We got in enough around Wisconsin to hear rumblings that Greg Gard was an a-hole, that he was far from a player's coach. That's probably the nicest way to put it.
Right.
And you and I we've had our ears perked up ever since then. Then the Kobe King thing happens. We think, oh, this is all sort of falling in line, but then they salvage the end of that season. They get some, positive momentum.
And Kobe King goes to Nebraska, but then doesn't play at Nebraska. Like
exactly.
So
it looks like a no-Joe Eastern situation almost.
Maybe it's a Kobe King problem. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So in general, we've been waiting for, our guard has been up, no pun intended, about Greg Gard. And this whole story, when I first saw the headline, I will say I immediately was like, I'm team play. The players, they finally have proven who this guy is. But like you said, taking something, editing it down, then releasing it to the media, it does seem like it's kind of like NC State. It's like you had me until you kept going. You know what I mean? Like the initial idea, it's like you want to show this guy. It's like I kind of am with you, but then once you cut a tape together and start building out a conspiracy and want to make it a whole thing, then I have to go laissez-faire and pull my hands back and say I can't be a part of this. But I would love to get Big Cat's take on the whole situation, because Wisconsin basketball, I mean, they are very prideful. They think that they are a blue blood, or a true blood, I should say. That's what they really think. They're a true blood. This situation, Greg Gard, I don't know who the answer is after Greg Gard, but I wouldn't mind if they shook things up. So I'm not saying this tape should be the reason where they reevaluate, but I also I'm okay to hear out, the players saying this isn't our guy. And
but it's one of those deals where the message might be correct, but
the way you delivered it is very wrong.
It is very wrong. So like, I'm kind of on Greg Gard's side, but at the same time, what makes Wisconsin basketball so good and has for the last 20 years has been the culture of Wisconsin basketball. And culture is a word we throw around way too much in college basketball, but every so often a program it rises to a level where you look at them and you say that there is very much a defined culture to this program. Wisconsin was one of those programs, Tate. And if you have players recording gripes with the coach and then release it into the media, I think it's fair to say that the culture has eroded. I think it's fair to say that however we got here, whoever's fault it was, culture has completely eroded on Wisconsin basketball. So in that regard, maybe it's time for a change. But at the same time, like, to look at this as like the flashpoint of Greg Gard should be fired because his players secretly record him and release it to the media. That's ridiculous. That's insane.
The only person that was very excited about this whole thing was Mark Schlabach. I mean, he immediately said, these players are correct. I'm so happy that they understand how to be journalists. If they need anything, here's my number. Slap a J next to him.
He wrote a letter to the players that said the biggest flaw in your plan was you actually released the tapes. You're supposed to say, I have
string it out.
You're supposed to let them know the tapes exist and then do not release them.
Yes.
By any means necessary.
And then sell them to HBO.
Yeah. Wisconsin at Georgia Tech is a game that, again, we will pretend to care about. We will talk about it when you and I do the podcast the week before these games and we pick our winners. We'll say the words into the microphone. Wow, that's going to be a good game. I can't wait to watch that. And then after the game, when it comes time to break down all the ACC Big Ten challenge games, we will not mention it at all.
We should just do a mashup at the end of one of these episodes as we get closer to the ACC Big Ten Challenge, where we just say, man, this is going to be the best game of the ACC Big Ten Challenge, so that we make all the hype videos for it. You know what I mean? It's like we get into the Notre Dame, Illinois hype video. We're like, this is the best game of the challenge.
Tier 4 is the ESPNU student broadcaster tier.
Yes.
Where these games are technically going to be on television, but unless you're a fan of one of these teams or you're the mother of one of the students broadcasting these games on ESPNUplus.com /US/plus/ two easy payments of $4.99. You're probably not watching these. Clemson at Rutgers. Nebraska at NC State and Miami at Penn State are the three I put in that tier. So that is your tier 4. I think we can keep it moving to tier 5, which is the how bad must Boston College be tier, because Boston College once again is not invited to the ACC Big Ten Challenge. One ACC team has to miss out. Boston College, this is now 2 years in a row that they've missed out on the ACC Big Ten Challenge, and in their place will be the Pitt Panthers hosting Minnesota.
Yes.
Woof. And the Wake Forest Demon Deacons hosting the Northwestern Wildcats. Those two games, if you watch more than 2 combined minutes of those two games, you deserve some sort
medal.
Of
medal. A love, hug, something.
Yeah.
But congratulations to Coach Capel, because he gets snubbed for the Duke job, and then he works overtime to make sure that he wants to prove that Pitt has his own brand. He's creating his own, separate entity there. So it's nice that they jumped over Boston College. I think Boston College at this point, the ACC is hearing, they're willing to take calls for the Boston College team. You know what I mean? Like if Boston College, if the Big Ten wanted Boston College, the ACC would trade Boston College probably for just cash, cash considerations at this point for the Boston College Eagles, even though, as we are watching the playoffs right now, you have to respect the fact that Boston College alum Reggie Jackson is one of the most ridiculous players in the playoffs, and I have not heard them once say he went to Boston College. And I think that's the problem with Boston College.
Up. Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like they need some of that. Like when Cam Johnson hits a 3, Mike Breen goes, and he's a Tar Heel. Sorry to the Pitt fans, but that's what that's what you need. You need a little bit of a boost there on the national broadcast. Boston College gets none, so. If anything, I beg, Mark Jackson, Jeff Van Gundy, somebody to bring up that Reggie Jackson went to Boston College. I think that will help them get back in the national limelight. We need that.
Also a problem for Boston College. I just Googled right this second as you were talking, Boston College head coach basketball, and hit enter. And the big result that popped up in big bold letters is Jim Christian.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people probably think he's still, yeah, exactly. They're like, he's good guy of the year. That's all he'll ever be,
We should just pretend Jim Christian's still the coach.
Honestly,
how long would it take?
America would believe us. That's the problem with all this.
We just Earl Grant, we just pretend he is Jim Christian. So we tweet out pictures of Earl Grant, another great win for Jim Christian, and he's got his Boston.
What a turnaround by Jim Christian! Who would have thought?
Because no one knows what Jim Christian looks like.
Yeah,
no one knows a single damn thing. Where's Jim Christian now? Nobody knows. Yeah, those are the ACC Big Ten Challenge games. So get excited about those. They announced those today. And
can I just say that Maryland got royally screwed out of this situation? This was a good time for Maryland to get Duke to come up there to get because wherever Duke went was going to be the game. I mean, I'm happy for Coach Holtman, a coach of the program. Happy for your Ohio State Buckeyes. I'm glad they're getting that game. But if he went to Maryland, that's a chance for Juan Dixon, to come show up and go to the game. Steve Blake's at the game. Look, JJ Redick actually showed up here. Now Steve Blake, sees Jay Williams, who's calling college game day. He decides he wants to fight Jay Williams again. And, there's moments there that
Jay
could have
Williams
happened.
Tweets that it's awesome to be here at the very first game that Duke has ever played at Maryland.
And then says he got hacked. Can we quickly say, did you see Jalen Rose call him out on that? He for the people at home, after the Bucks in game 1, they get rocked, because they play a drop coverage against screen roll and Trae Young kills him. And Jay Williams, of course, takes the victory lap as if, he called this. He's like, I told Jalen Rose before this game that if they ran drop coverage, that Trae Young was going to make him pay, yada, yada, yada. And then all Jalen Rose says is, I got hacked. And, this is thank God for Jay Williams. When you talk about content, he ever since the start of the playoffs, he got Kevin Durant heated, and he's on a roll. He and Scottie Pippen right now are battling to see who can take over the headlines.
Yes, I do love that. Like Jay, I'll say that there are a lot of Duke guys in media, and most of them, for better or worse, are buttoned up. We know, we'll rag on Billis a little bit because he just goes on his crusade.
Seth Davis very buttoned up.
Very buttoned up. These guys are good at what they do, but sometimes they're in a perfect position to make fun of them a little bit. Even Grant Hill, who is great at his job, he's not exactly he's not exactly Charles Barkley when he's calling these games. He's not that. So I will give Jay credit. in the sense that Jay Williams, I mean, in the sense
he's going for the headlines.
He's going for it.
He's definitely going for it.
I think he's having a little bit of an identity crisis. He's not really sure which way he wants to go. I think he's just like, I'm throwing it out there and we're going to see what pops. But, as a guy who's just sitting back and taking it all in, I do appreciate that he's going for it. And I appreciate that he's bucking the trend of Duke guys in the media, because the Duke move is to just button up your tie, not say anything that rocks the boat too much.
He's obviously so jealous of Stephen A. Smith. You know what I mean? Like, he's watching First Take and he's thinking to himself, I have to be that guy. And the fact that he tweeted, congratulations to the Boston Celtics for hiring their first black coach. And I mean, Titus, like, it's not even just Doc Rivers is one thing, but like Casey Jones, Bill Russell, like, I mean, that was the craziest thing. I thought it was fake. Like, when I first saw it. If you told me
the Celtics have had more black coaches than any other franchise, maybe in all professional sports in North America,
I would believe it. Exactly. That's why when I saw it, I was like, and this guy, you know what I mean? Like, this guy knows bad. Like, what is he talking about? But again, when you're trying to stir, you're just trying to get people riled up. That was the hottest take I've ever heard in my entire life, because it was unbelievable.
And to me, he was hacked.
He said he was hacked.
A guy hacked his account to tweet congratulations to the Celtics coach, and that was it. That was all they tweeted.
And then immediately deleted it. I want to know who told him that he was not the first black coach, because whoever that was a good friend, because he apparently deleted it pretty quickly. So shout out to them.
I don't think it was a friend. I think it was the replies. I think it was. He tweeted it and then he refreshed his replies and he had 4,000 replies. And he was like, he was
like, he tweeted and said, "Wait, do I see these retweets come in?" He's like, "I'm going to take over today," and then it was gone. Man, what a great man. We missed so much, by the way. Like, I wish we had done a show when that happened, because I would have been more ripe.
To your point, though, about Maryland missing out on hosting Duke, I think Purdue fans thought that they should, like, Maryland historically earned the right to host Duke in this because of the Maryland beat in the ACC and the history they had with Duke all those years. But if you're going off of just this year, if Duke is the marquee ACC team, given that it's Coach K's last run, they have to be matched with the marquee Big Ten team, and Purdue fans felt like it should be them, that Duke should come to Mackey Arena. That did not happen. That's a tough look for the Boilermakers. That's not a good spot to be in.
But I will give Purdue, don't get too upset if you're Purdue, because it could have been Indiana. When I first saw
that's true.
When I saw the announcement that Duke was going to play the road, obviously they were going to play on the road, I assumed that it was going to be Indiana, because I was thinking Coach K goes back, Bob Knight comes to the game, Coach K kisses the ring of his mentor, you know what I mean? And that's like a whole moment in time, and especially because I think they would win that game.
I think Indiana would win, and that was supposed to be the Mike Woodson ring in the new era. Like that was going to be the Tuesday night 9 p.m. tip that I love talking about. Like Tuesday night 9 p.m. tip, Assembly Hall on ESPN is the most dangerous assembly hall.
You're losing by 30. I don't care who you are. Literally.
And I thought that's what that was going to be the matchup.
It should have been. And Purdue fans are upset right now because I am saying that Indiana fans got more screwed than them. They're like, "What are you talking about?"
No, it does suck, because Purdue fans' mind going into this thing, they probably thought Duke's going to come here. We're going to be the marquee game. We're going to beat Duke's ass. We're going to send Coach K packing. Instead, they're probably going to be on ESPN2 with Florida State at the same time. Do we have the days? They're probably going to play like alongside the Duke Ohio State game. Like the exact same time on ESPN2, and most of the country's not going to watch, and they're going to beat Florida State. And no one's going to care, and but I think that's a good spot. I think if you're Purdue, that's what you want. You don't want expectations.
Exactly.
That has never worked for Purdue.
I agree.
Ever. That has never once worked, where Purdue goes into the season and they are the clear favorites to win the Big Ten, or they are a top 5 team. Or you have people like me saying, "Who's the best player in the Big Ten? Is it Travion Williams or is it Jaden Ivey? I don't know, but the 2 best players in the Big Ten might play for Purdue." And if people are saying that, it's great to hear it if you're a Purdue fan, but let's be honest, that's not what you want. That is not a good spot to be in.
Best case scenario if you're Purdue is that you and I are at the shot early. Their game tips off at 7. We don't even watch it because we're getting fired up for the Buckeyes game coming on at 9. And then we don't even talk about that game because all we talk about is Ohio State playing Duke. You know what I mean? And they beat Florida State by like 13, 15, but it's very under the radar. And then they kind of hover around like 7, 8, 9 all year. Then they go in the tournament. They're a sleeper pick. This is
Yeah.
this is
That's
the
not
recipe.
going to happen. I'm going to tell you what's going to happen with Purdue is they will be ranked. They might touch number 1 at some point. I don't think so though. I think that's too much for Purdue. I think even voters will be cautious of that. But Purdue will be ranked like 2nd and 9-0, and everything's rolling. And then Big Ten play will start. They'll lose a game that they had no business losing, and then people will count. I don't know. I see how this is going to go. I'm not going to tip my hand too much. See how this is
I'm going to knock on wood for Purdue fans right now.
Purdue is going to peak very, very early, and they're going to be very, very good. And I think if I'm a Purdue fan, that would scare the Jesus out of me because, as you said, I think the best case for Purdue is that you hover around like the 10 to 12, ranked 10 to 12 all season.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Yeah,
that's what you should want.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Don't fly too close to the sun. If there's anything that you can learn from this podcast, is don't be Icarus. Do not fly too close to the sun. That's all we can say.
Let's take a break, come back, and talk a little NBA and wrap this thing up.
Let's do it.
All right, let's do a little NBA, Tate. So we have 3 different ways we could take this. Number 1, Penny Hardaway to the Magic ? Number 2, the combine. Number 3, the fraud power rankings.
Can we start with Penny? I just
please.
want to first and foremost, like, congratulations to Penny Hardaway, because I think when he formed, his mutiny in the city of Memphis and was able to force Tubby Smith out and sent Tubby to his, to High Point, to his alma mater, took over Memphis, said, put the world on alert. Your top recruit. He's coming to play for us with the Memphis Tigers. You and I were all Penny everything. We spent he won the offseason that year. We were all, lined up, ready to go. James Wiseman's coming in. Of course, we know what happens. The NCAA stifles the whole thing. That they stop, the Memphis Tigers from being able to thrive and be successful. But Penny has been pretty adamant that he is not looking in the NBA circles. Anytime that his name would come up, I think even with the Magic already, he said, thank you, but no thank you. So I just want to give him credit for being able to endear himself to the Memphis community, but still be in a position right now where he may become an NBA head coach for the team that drafted him. You know what I mean? And if you're Memphis, you can't get mad at the guy for taking, the step up, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say, Penny, as much as we kind of laugh, we're like, what is his play style? How does he actually coach? Are we sure we know anything about him as a coach? He has done a really good job of wading in the waters of, I still want to be loved by everybody. And I think Memphis, they're still thinking all to themselves, there's no way Penny leaves. And then everyone with the Magic is thinking Penny would be a great hire. And I'm just going to say kudos to him, because that's a really fine line to walk. And he's done it pretty well.
The man took over at Memphis via coup. I'm glad you brought this up, because this is staggering to me. How many years ago was this? How many years did he coach? 3?
2017. Yeah. 2018. Yeah.
So he coached 3 years, 18, 19, or 4. Was it 4?
4. Let's
18,
say 4.
19, 20, 21.
With COVID, I can't even do time anymore. But yeah, he's been there for 3 or 4 years. He took him to the NIT this year, and they kind of all bought in the NIT. But then afterwards, guys are transferring and yada yada yada. I mean, but that's every program this year. How many years did you look it up?
18. He took over in 18. So 18, 19. So 19, 20, 21. 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's been 3 years at Memphis. He has 1 NIT championship to show for it.
Yep.
I understand that Tubby Smith was not the guy. So this is like a Greg Gard situation where you're putting me in a weird spot where I'm like defending a guy that
it's like we agree, just not the way that it was done.
Yes, yeah. I agree that maybe it would be nice to move on from Tubby Smith somehow. But the way Penny Hardaway took over at Memphis, one of the most absurd things. I would actually, it's probably not anymore given what we've seen in college basketball, all the shit that goes on in this sport. But they literally formed a coup. They formed a coup.
They were saying that James Wiseman would not come.
Yeah,
if Penny did not get hired,
they fired him to get Penny and James Wiseman there. Wiseman doesn't even play the whole season. It's all hilarious. And I'm saying is somehow
he has been able to, like, that has not been a stench on him. You know what I mean? No one in the Memphis community is like, hey, he formed a coup to get here, and no one in the Magic is like, are we sure we want to hire a guy who formed a coup to get his last job?
Because right around the same time they drafted John Morant, and I think if you're in the Memphis community, you just pivoted away from the Tigers now, and you're just latching on to
now you're Grizzlies fans.
Yeah, you're just Grizzlies, all Grizzlies, everything. No, do you think he's getting the job? Do you think he's going to Magic?
I had heard, and look.
I just meant like just for fun, off the cuff. I didn't know this was a.
No,
Big
this is
Frazier
not a
scoops.
source thing, but I had heard like from sources eventually, that
This is not a source thing.
it's
But
not a
I
source
heard
thing.
from sources.
That Terry Stotts was the name that they were going for, like the home
Okay.
run hire. But I think that is sort of tempered. I'm not sure if that's still the case. And Penny is probably a fan. Like the fans probably go crazy over that. I think, guys like Cole Anthony, Wendell Carter, some of the young guys they have on this team, they may buy into having a coach like Penny Hardaway, especially a guy like Cole Anthony. I know he would love Penny. I think he already knows Penny. So I'm not sure how much the players, if any, say in this. I think the ownership probably would lean more towards Terry Stotts, but it may be one of those things. Terry Stotts says, I want to sit out a year and then see where I want to go. I may wait for the Lakers job when that comes open, something like that. So I think it's more real than it ever has been, and I'm so shocked by it. I really am. And I'm happy for Penny, but I mean, like I said, he has been able to avoid all of the stench. You know what I mean? Somehow we all remember Penny as like Little Penny. Little Penny is the caricature that we all think normal Penny is. You know what I mean? And that's a good thing.
Well, I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
I mean, Kevin Clark did text us, early on and said he wanted Penny. So I feel like the fans want Penny.
I think I do think it's interesting that Cal and Juwan Howard and Jay Wright and Bill Self and the list goes on and on, but especially more recently, Cal and Juwan Howard are the two that have to every offseason fight against going to the NBA. The juxtaposition of statements that they're putting out and attitudes that they have towards this, and Penny's just out and out silence on the matter is hilarious. It's hilarious.
Well, that's how you know it's become more real. You know what I mean? The fact that Penny has now like faded, kind of like Homer Simpson when he fades into the bush. Like that's Penny right now in Memphis. He's like, oh, okay.
But then he doesn't get hired by the Magic, and he'll be back, and he'll be back recruiting and be like,
he's like never interviewed anywhere. Would never leave.
You think I want to coach in the NBA? I love playing East Carolina and Tulsa. Are you crazy? I love it. I love the American Athletic Conference. It's the best. We play in the best conference in the best city in America. The Lakers job open yet? No, still not. Yeah. So the best, we're the best. One of our teams went to the Final Four last year. This is one of the great jobs, and the Lakers is open now. Okay, see you guys. Peace.
Yeah. Thanks. Thanks.
All right, let's do fraud power rankings, and then we can wrap it up. Maybe touch on the combine a little bit, but I want to go through these because we missed a lot, and I don't I have a lot on my list, but I got to whittle it down to 5. So I'm going to do this on the fly. I'm going to do this. Number 5 for me on the fraud power rankings this week is Mark Turgeon.
Oh wow! Oh my!
For a lot of reasons.
Oh my gosh! That was the best start ever. I'm fired up. Good start.
I think I think this is recency bias, but I just saw Daryl Morcell is transferring to Marquette. By the way, Big Ten Defensive Player of the Year, 4-year starter at Maryland from Baltimore.
Yep.
Kind of baffling on the surface. Turgeon puts out a statement that Morcell will always be welcome back to College Park, that he's a Terp for life, et cetera, et cetera. But the questions are swirling, Tate. Why would this man leave? This man was Maryland basketball in my mind. Like I thought of Morcell before I thought of, I don't know, a lot of the other guys that they've had roll through there. Jalen Smith, Kevin Herter,
or Wiggins,
Cowan. They've had a lot of great players.
Kevin Herter.
Yeah, he has been the rock for Maryland basketball in my mind, and he is now transferring to Marquette. We remember after the season, he said, I would like to officially announce that I could do anything. I'm a wild card. You have no idea where I'm going. I might go to the draft. I might come out of the draft.
He basically said, stay tuned. Yeah. That's the best way to keep us engaged.
I might transfer. I might go to the G League. You have no idea what I'm about to do. And in the end, he transfers to Marquette. So that's a bad look for Maryland. Because remember, Mark Turgeon won big time out of the gate. He hires Danny Manning. He gets the transfer Qudus Wahab. Who was the other? Fats Russell.
Fats Russell.
Yeah, Fats Russell. They get the transfers. Everything's rolling Maryland's way. I feel like he blew his wad too soon in the offseason. Now it's coming back around on him. Loses Morcell. There's that. Number 2, you already mentioned this earlier. Maryland does not get Coach K to come to College Park for the ACC Big Ten Challenge, which I felt like it was a must. I felt like you have to do that.
That was huge.
Turgeon,
that was a
call
huge
in the favors. You figure it out. You just figure it out. You just call the Big Ten office. You say figure it out, and you hang up. And That's probably what he did, honestly.
Yeah, they said, "Who's this?" Hung up.
Who is this? But then there's more. You bring up Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter won 0 NCAA tournament games in his time in Maryland. I just wanted to point this out, that this man, he has not had a great series against the Bucks, but he did score 27 points in Game 7 while we were away, and is kind of becoming a breakout star-ish.
I mean, he's a starter on a team in the conference finals, and he's a pivotal, scorer for that team. And he's been great on defense. I mean, he's so good that, like, my parents watch basketball. They watch all basketball, and they didn't even believe me when I said he played at Maryland. You know what I mean? That's how forgetful his time at Maryland was. And you can see now that he obviously has star potential. So that's
which is the indictment on Mark Turgeon that I would like to bring up.
Yes.
And it goes even deeper, Tate, because when everyone thinks of Mark Turgeon, when everyone thinks of players in the NBA that Mark Turgeon's coach, they think of the Maryland players, and rightfully so. He is the Maryland head coach. But people forget, Tate, that Chris Middleton, a man who took over Game 3 for the Milwaukee Bucks, went absolutely nuts in the fourth quarter, could not miss, played at Texas A&M under a guy by the name of Mark Turgeon for 2 years. They won one NCAA tournament game in Middleton's 2 years he had with Turgeon. And then the third year, who was it? Billy Kennedy took over, right?
Yeah.
Billy Kennedy takes over Middleton's final year. But Middleton plays 2 years for Turgeon as well. They win one NCAA tournament game. I just wanted to point this out, that Chris Middleton, Kevin Huerter are superstars in the NBA. Maybe not superstars, maybe just stars. They're playing well. People know their names.
Yeah.
They are
Middleton might be playing like a superstar right now. Yeah.
Yes. And if you look at who these guys played for in college, the answer is Mark Turgeon. And then you say to yourself, why do I not remember that? And the answer is Mark Turgeon.
Yes. the turd sandwich, as we call him on this program. Yeah.
So I got thinking about that. I got thinking about Kevin Huerter won 0 NCAA tournament games in his time in college. Chris Middleton won one NCAA tournament game. Mm-hmm. And I thought about this, Tate, at number 4 of my fraud power rankings, the NCAA tournament.
Oh,
I think as first reported on this program, the NCAA tournament this specific season was a Mickey Mouse tournament. We know that, but I'm going through the data and I'm wondering aloud, Tate,
are they all Mickey Mouse?
Are they all Mickey Mouse tournaments? Because think about these guys that are balling out in the playoffs right now that won 0 NCAA tournament games. Trae Young, 2018 loses in the first round to Rhode Island. He's gone. That's it. That's his NCAA tournament experience. Did not win an NCAA tournament game. DeAndre Ayton smoked in the first round against Buffalo in 2018. Did not win an NCAA tournament game.
Oh my God.
Paul George never even made the NCAA tournament. Is now the guy on the Clippers because Kawhi is out, and Paul George is carrying them to probably they're playing tonight. We're recording this before Game 5, but they might lose in 5. But Paul George carried him this far.
Yeah,
goes to him. Has never made the tournament in his 2 seasons at Fresno State. Kevin Huerter loses the first round versus Xavier in 2017, misses the tourney in 2018. And then the guy you brought up earlier, Reggie Jackson at Boston College, loses in the first round to USC in 2009, never made the tournament the rest of his time at Boston College. All of these guys are starting in Eastern or Western Conference finals, and none of them won an NCAA tournament game.
Can I throw Chris Paul into the ring as well? I mean,
throw him in there.
I mean, a second round. I mean, they were destined for a national championship. They beat North Carolina at home that year. They get to number 1 in the country. Everyone's saying Justin Gray is better than JJ Redick. Eric Williams is unstoppable. Kevin Pittsnoggle knocks him out of the tournament. So, I mean, I think you're right. Is it always been a Disney tournament? That's what people are saying.
Who's the I guess Mikal Bridges is kind of the counter to this.
Yeah.
Who else? I mean, of the guys that actually played in college, like obviously Giannis didn't.
But even like
Tucker went to the Elite 8, right?
Yeah, but even like Cam Johnson, he didn't go to a Final Four. You know what I mean? Like it's really, if you parse through it all, yeah, it makes you think
Lopez.
that,
I can't imagine Stanford had great runs.
And then let's think about it. The greatest run we've seen, in the past decade, Kemba Walker. Now he's been shipped to Oklahoma City. You know what I mean?
Great point. Anthony Davis, also a great run, and now he's like,
Lakers fans are like, trade him for Andrew Wiggins and James Wiseman.
So there you go. Number 4, the NCAA tournament. It might actually be, just as a whole, a Mickey Mouse operation, as it turns out.
Honestly, great fraud.
Number 3 on the fraud power rankings, and this one really is devastating to say this, but again, I don't play favorites. I have to call it like I see it, and at number 3, I have Damian Lillard. What is transpiring with Damian Lillard? There's no other way to describe it than fraudulent. It is fraudulent behavior on the part of Damian Lillard. I have made my love for Damian Lillard clear on this program many times over, Tate. I love that he is a small market guy. I love that he has said over and over and over again that he wants to end his career in Portland. I believe him when he says it. I believe that there's more honor in Damian Lillard's mind in losing in the first round, but balling out and doing everything you can to win with guys that you've cultivated around you via draft, via however they got there.
Yeah.
It's a team that was built in his mind organically. He would rather lose with those guys in the first round than build a super team and win a title. That's not what he's about. And yet this whole situation with Chauncey Billups, I'm smelling some bullshit. I don't like it. I don't like how we got here. That Damian Lillard basically publicly says, I want Chauncey Billups to be, maybe not publicly, but obviously he picked Chauncey Billups as the coach. Like they went to Chauncey Billups, or they went to Damian Lillard. They said, who do you want? He said Jason Kidd or Chauncey Billups. That's pretty much the two names he threw out. The Blazers hired Chauncey Billups. Chauncey Billups has a checkered past, we'll call it. And now all of a sudden Damian Lillard is getting heat from Blazers fans, from people in the media, from everybody for why would you support this dude? Why did you want this guy so badly? And apparently Damian Lillard is now setting the stage, Tate, to turn it on Blazers fans to say the reason I'm going to leave, the heat that you are giving me is too much. You guys, this is unfair how you were treating me. I've tried to carry this franchise. Now you're coming at my neck because I wanted Chauncey Billups to be the coach when I didn't even realize that he had XYZ in his past. You know what? It might be best if I just wipe my hands of all of this and go play for the Lakers. What do you say about that? And I feel like that's what's coming, and it's fraudulent. I don't like it one bit. Damian, please reconsider. Don't do it.
You know what it smells of? It smells of one man, and you said his name already, Jason Kidd, and it sounds to me a lot like he said, "Run into me," and it sounds like he told Dame Lillard. He told Dame Lillard that Portland was never going to be the place, so he went to go work with Luka. But he said, first and foremost, I'll tell you how to get out of there. Run into me. And it does seem like that is how it's all playing out. The whole Chauncey Billups backlash, I did not honestly see coming, because he has gotten so much love throughout the playoffs for what he's been able to do with Ty Lue's staff. So when it happened, when he got hired, and then the backlash was immediate. I think that's why Dame was probably thrown off too. And now he puts up this quote yesterday. It was like, the biggest test is how you handle people that have mishandled you. Like you said, the writing on the wall is that Dame Lillard is going to ask for a trade. I
just ask for the trade, Dame. Ask for the trade straight up. Don't run into Jason Kidd's ice cup and spill it on the floor. That's all I'm asking. That's fraudulent. That's fraudulent.
That's what he did. He listened to the J Kidd playbook, and that's not always good. But I will say, if you're the Knicks, this is the time to strike. If you're the Knicks, you signed Julius Randle today to the Supermax, and then you are calling and saying, we have 5 first-round picks, Julius Randle, the most improved player in the league, and we will send him to Portland, and we will drive Dame Lillard to the airport for you, because he obviously doesn't love Portland anymore. You know what I mean? If you're New York, this is the time. The time to strike is now, because the Lakers, like you said, this is all that LeBron has been waiting for. He's been waiting for Dame Lillard to become free. And what's so crazy about that is that LeBron is a point guard. So I don't know why he's so obsessed with finding a point guard. You know what I mean? Point guards are not necessarily what he needs. It's nice to have a Rondo that can take the ball, from you and take some of those responsibilities away. But you don't need a superstar point guard, because you're already the superstar point guard, So that whole part of this, I hope that Dame doesn't go to LA, because I don't want him to be Dennis Schroeder and have people saying, send him to the Shanghai Sharks. You know what I mean? And saying that he's trash now, because that's what it feels like LA will look like. And if he goes to New York and he goes to Madison Square Garden with that media push behind him, he may end up being the GOAT by the end of it. You know what I mean? Dame Lillard scoring 50 in Madison Square Garden in a playoff game, even if they lost, Knicks fans would start calling him the GOAT. That's where he should go. He should be funneled to a team, because at least it's not a super team. It can't be a super team.
This is becoming my favorite offseason tradition, even though the playoffs are going on. It's the Lakers offseason. Is Lakers fans who spent the entire playoffs shitting on all the role players and how bad they are, now turning around and trying to pump up those role players as great assets. And,
yes.
There's Kyle Kuzma and Schroeder.
You're saying Portland won't take Kuzma and Schroeder? Are you kidding me? Those are 2 starters on a championship team.
Yeah.
What? You told me you were sending them to the Shanghai Sharks literally last week.
Oh man, what is Space Jam 2? Damian Lillard is ultimately his next move is unveiled in Space Jam 2. That's what we learned. It's that meta. It's if
Trae Young should have been
the after credits. The after credits, there's something with Damian Lillard where a trade is announced. Woj comes up on the screen and announces the trade in the theater.
Honestly,
there you have it. Number 2 on the fraud power rankings, Rudy Gobert. This man, this is kind of old news, but we were away while the Utah Jazz imploded. I watched this happen on my couch. I returned from Myrtle Beach. I was visiting the fam in Myrtle Beach right before, like we recorded the episode with Greg last week, and then I fly back to LA. I didn't feel great. I had a little sore throat, and I decided I'm just going to take it easy. I'm going to lay on the couch and just kill some NyQuil and just kind of doze off watching the Jazz blow the doors off of the Los Angeles Clippers, right, Tate?
Mm-hmm.
And I wake up in a stupor to see the Clippers going absolutely nuts as Rudy Gobert cannot guard a single player on the court. The man who is maybe one of the greatest
player of the year,
not just the defensive player of the year, maybe one of the greatest defenders in NBA history. The way people talk about him, the way this is his value to the Jazz. Everyone else that the Jazz put on the floor can shoot threes. Rudy Gobert can dunk the basketball and guard everybody. He's a great defender. And the Los Angeles Clippers say, bullshit. We're gonna call your bluff on this. We're gonna make you come out and challenge 3-point shots. He could not do it. He was the Clippers were making everything. They were licking their lips. It was absolutely unbelievable watching it transpire. I honestly thought I was hallucinating. Like I was under the influence of some sort of drug. It was kind of late, and I'm watching this like, how is this happening? Why is nobody on the Jazz? And as a guy who thought this was the year of Mike Conley, I was very angry. I wanted to throw stuff at my TV. Mike is not on the Olympic team either. I blame Rudy Gobert for this. I think if the Jazz win this, Mike Conley gets asked to be on the Olympic team. Instead, none of that happens. Screw you, Rudy Gobert.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think Mike Conley to the Lakers would be a lot of fun. You know what I mean? If you talk about the Lakers needing a point guard, that's the move that we need. We need Mike Conley to go play with his Ohio brethren, LeBron James. He's a savvy vet. He's the perfect kind of point guard for LeBron, can get you a bucket if you need one. And I'm hoping for that for Mike Conley. Maybe next year.
Get me on that
next
staff.
year. Next year is the year of Mike Conley.
Get me on that staff.
Maybe you take Jay Kidd's spot on the staff.
I'll take Jason Kidd's spot. We'll be the Ohio Lakers. Me and Mike and LeBron.
Oh man, I think it's a good way for LeBron to endear himself again to the Ohio State community. Again, he has a locker room there.
That's true.
He has a locker in the locker room there, and it's just like one other kind of feather in the cap to say I always take care of my Ohio people.
Whoever wins
the Lakers.
Whoever wins the Duke Ohio State game is the school that LeBron is going to go to. I think.
That's Bronny's. That's Bronny's.
That's where Bronny's going.
Yeah, before Bronny goes to the G League and plays for Ignite, you got to think about the school that he would have gone to.
Number 1 on the fraud power rankings.
I'm excited.
Wrapping this up. It could only be the one man, Ben Simmons. Nothing else really.
I forgot that happened. Honestly,
Ben Simmons. Yeah. Again, it happened while we were away, but that happened. That's all you really need to say. If you don't know what we're talking about, it's probably for the best. Ben Simmons. It has gotten to the point where it's just kind of sad, honestly, Tate. That's where I was at with it. It was, but also, what the hell is going on in Philadelphia that they broke Ben Simmons, they broke Markelle Fultz. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I'm just asking questions here.
Yeah, it goes back to, are we drafting the prospect or are we drafting the person? And I think the prospect of Markelle Fultz, who shoots 40% from 3 in college and yada, yada, yada. And the prospect of Ben Simmons, this 6'10" point guard who can guard 1 through 5, the prospect of it is great, but the person of it, my dad said something very funny, which I think is a great point about Ben Simmons. He said, what does he do when he just goes and goes to the gym? You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't shoot around.
What does he do?
Like, what does he do? You know what I mean? Like,
does
he do just defensive slide drills?
What he does?
Because no wonder he hates basketball. I'd hate basketball if I went and did defensive slide drill.
He sits on the bench and does the move where you dribble the ball underneath your legs. And
yeah.
Every so often,
true.
You kick your feet back and forth and do it between your ankles.
Yeah. But like that to me kind of says everything about Ben and basketball, right? I don't. And the fact that he's not playing, I mean, I don't know if you've heard all the Team Australia stuff, right? He was supposed to play for his country. That was the expectation. And then he kind of didn't even really tell anybody he wasn't going to play. And now he's not going to play because he's going to work out. And you know this, and I know this. Nobody gets better by practicing in an empty gym. You only get better playing games.
Yes.
Like, I mean, and that's just the fact. And anyone that will tell you different is probably a trainer, and they're probably a liar. You know what I mean? And so the fact that he's decided not to play in games and not go and, you know, work through it at some level, that worries me even more. Rich Paul's on the case. He's going to try to get him traded. But if I'm Philadelphia, I'm not trading him for pennies, you know, like I'm going to make him come back and deal with it. Like Kobe Bryant airballed shots against Utah. Magic Johnson was called Tragic Johnson. It's not like we haven't seen Steph Curry was not clutch, you know, LeBron James sucks after 2011. You know, we've seen all these great players get, you know, skewered in the playoffs before. So if Ben really wants to be a great player, which I think is a decision he has to make.
I don't think he does. He does. You ready for this? This is digging back.
Well, he's a role player then, and then you can't make max money as a role player. I mean, that's just the facts.
I want to dig back into the archives and talk about his one season in college, because when it was happening, I was in awe at how good he was. He had, if you go back and look at his stats that he put up his one season at LSU, they're mind blowing. He was insane. He was it was ridiculous. It turned a lot of people off that guys like me who we didn't have a podcast at the time, but I was writing articles for Grantland, I believe. And I could not compliment Ben Simmons' talent enough. And ESPN loved talking about him because they knew he's going to be the number one pick in the draft. And then fast forward to when Trae Young comes around 2 years later, and people hated Trae Young because they felt like this was the Ben Simmons experience all over again. That was a guy that puts up awesome stats, but is his team going to even make the tournament? Yada, yada, yada. Ben Simmons soured a ton of people, Tate, that year. As I'm sure you remember, he wasn't even on the Wooden Award watch list because his GPA was too low, because he didn't go to class, because he didn't want to be there. And I remember having arguments with people about like whether that was a red flag, whether Ben Simmons not going to class, not carrying, like I don't think there's ever really been a superstar player at the college basketball level that so flagrantly, so obviously did not want to be in college. It was like, get me the hell out of here so badly. I hate it here. I cannot believe I have to be here. And, you know, there's one contingent of people that said, I don't blame him. It's stupid that he has to be here. He's going to be the number one pick. He's super talented. He plays for a bad coach and bad teammates and a bad conference. Like, this is stupid that he has to be here. On the other hand, no one made him be there. That's not how it works. That was the misconception, was that the NCAA, that Mark Emmert is going to like 17.
Get to class, man.
Mark Emmert is not going into the living room of 17-year-olds and putting a gun to their head saying you must go to college. Especially
because he was from Australia. He could have played the NBL.
He could have just stayed there. So like, I didn't really feel that bad for him, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know if it's a red flag. It's probably just a guy who's checked it. I didn't really know where I landed on it. Fast forward to where we're at now. And I'm going to very conveniently look back in retrospect and say that the warning signs were there all along, that I don't think Ben Simmons ever really loved this. I think he was really, really good at basketball. I think he really, really likes basketball. I think he loves that people know his name and he gets paid millions of dollars and he can be on the cover of a GQ. I don't know if he actually has been, but he seems like a guy that has been.
Yeah.
He loves all
I'm
of
not
that.
sure if he has been. I shouldn't say definitively, but I'm sure he wants to be.
If
he hasn't been on there yet, he's going for it. Yeah.
It feels right.
Devin Booker next on that list coming up very soon.
I think he loves all of that, and it's the basketball part that he's like, damn, this sucks. And I think Scott, this was the point. Pippen has made a lot of points in the past week, but isn't this one of the points he was making?
Can we all agree to turn off Scottie Pippen?
I know, but I think he made a good point. If I suss through what he was saying correctly, talking about the difference between Simmons and Giannis, that like Giannis will airball free throws and he doesn't give a damn. He doesn't care how uncool it looks. He doesn't care that the whole crowd is laughing at him.
Yeah, it's not about looking cool. It's not about the show. It's not about being the man. It's not WWF. You know what I mean? It's Simmons, basketball.
That is all he cares about, is how it looks, and he would rather pass up wide open dunks because God forbid he misses that shot and everyone clowns him on Twitter. So it's like easier if I just pass this up, then I won't get made fun of, which is not true. We made fun of you even more for passing it up, but I don't know. It's very bizarre. He's inside his own head, and for that reason, he's number one on the fraud power rankings. And I don't know how he comes back from this state. I don't know how. because you say that he has to go play. He has like stuff to work on. I feel
It's
like
not-
he needs a
it's
sports
not even about-
psychologist.
Yeah, I was gonna
feel like
say
that's
it.
what he needs more than anything.
It wasn't even something where like I don't even think he has any. I mean, obviously he has a lot to work on, but like just go play and just take shot, like miss shots. Like, because the thing about it is it's not that he can't shoot. As everyone, I feel like that's been the whole, it's not that he can't shoot, it's that he refuses to shoot.
Yeah.
And that's like a cardinal sin in basketball. Because like when you have a good shot, you have to take the shot because at least keeps the defense honest to know that like they have to worry about you. If you're always playing 4-on-5, this is why Joel Embiid obviously is very frustrated, because he's like, when we're on offense, my operating area is taken up by him, and he doesn't help us by not taking shots outside of our own operating area. So we're in this constant, battle of space, and there is no space for Ben. And so they can't play together if Ben's not going to shoot. And it's obviously been proven. We're 5 years into the guys. We're 5 years. We're in the NBA 5 years. You played 82 games for 5 years. Like, and you still won't shoot? Who cares if you airball it? Who cares? It's worth seeing a video on House of Highlights of someone, that comedian, I can't remember his name, when he was like, Ben Simmons in a game, he jumps up and he just keeps throwing the pass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's more embarrassing, I feel like, than airballing.
Yes,
so
it is. It is.
He needs that's what needs to be drilled into his head. An air ball, who cares? Like, but passing when you're supposed to take the shot, that's more embarrassing. And then maybe that flips his whole thing. I don't know.
I don't know either.
That's a great number one though on the list.
It's he had to be number one. So there you go. There's the update. By the way, I just got confirmation. He was on the cover of GQ once upon a time.
I mean, it all checks out, folks. He's also a huge gamer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's a big guy where he does like the FaZe Clan stuff. You know what I mean? So
can I say this in support of Ben Simmons? I wouldn't have a problem with it if that's what I guess he doesn't have to necessarily put out a statement, but if like somehow it's leaked or like somehow we all
puts out a statement. I just don't like this.
I just don't like basketball. Can you imagine that statement? He's like, I'm going to keep playing because I like the money, but I just don't like basketball. I am understanding of that position because there you go. You got the picture of him there?
Yeah. All hell. This is the GQ cover. GQ Australia, we should say, not GQ proper, but all hell Ben Simmons, NBA's heir to the throne.
If that isn't, in fact, his position, that he just like wants to be famous and make money and be cool and be on the cover of GQ, I don't have a problem with it. That's how a lot of people
be an influencer.
That's how a lot of people approach their jobs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of how I approach this job.
Put me on GQ. Yeah.
Just give me some money, dude. That's really all I want. I'm not trying to win. What can we even win? Webbies? Is that what we're up for?
I'm a 2-time Webby winner. Hate to brag, but
you're honest. You're honest. You shot a lot of air balls, but you've also won 2 Webbies.
Exactly.
And I'm laughing about it. I'm never gonna win a Webby, but damn it, I'm pretty good with that. As long as I keep cashing checks. I live by the beach. I live by the beach in Marina Del Rey. That's all I need.
Yeah. When I won the first Webby, I remember being excited about it, and everyone told me that like nobody cares about Webbies. And I promise you, 2 years later, the same people were winning those Webbies, and it was like they're winning Oscars. I was like, what? I was like, hold on, what happened?
That's how every award is, dude. Every award is stupid until you start winning it or you start getting nominated for it, and then you're like, oh, this is the most important thing in the world. All right, shout outs, closeouts, combine.
Yeah.
Anything combine related?
Yeah, I was going to shout out Joe Wieskamp, 27-10 at the combine. I think Joe Wieskamp is my new Duncan Robinson.
Yep.
And I am riding the stock. I feel like Joe Wieskamp could be a late first round pick. I know a lot of people are probably rolling their eyes at that, but 6'6" sniper. I think he is a better defender than people give him credit for. And if I were an NBA GM, I am not. If I had, the 40th pick and Joe Wieskamp is there, I think that's a steal. You know what I mean? And I've seen him going as high as 55th, 56 in all these mock drafts. So I would say him, and Quentin Grimes is the other name I wanted to throw out. Quentin Grimes is a 5-star talent. I've seen him undrafted in a lot of mock drafts. He was great in the scrimmage as well. So those 2 guys I wanted to shout out because, again, if you're a GM, you have a 2nd round pick and those guys are available, I think that they are nothing but potential I mean, they're potential starters in the NBA. I seriously think that. So
yeah, I would agree with that. Wieskamp is the more I think about Joe Wieskamp in the NBA, the more I talk myself into him.
Yeah,
he just, his stock climbs in my mind based on nothing but like me just sitting alone with my thoughts. Like I'm just sitting here eating lunch, not even reading, not even on Twitter, like looking at highlights or anything like that. Just kind of just sitting there. And I'm thinking about Joe Wieskamp, and I'm like, yeah, he should definitely be drafted. Like I would definitely take him somewhere in the second round. And I think about it more, and I'm like, yeah, like early second round, like maybe even first, like shit, dude, he could be like top 20.
that's what I'm saying. You get to the point where you're like, if I have the 25th pick, I might just take Wieskamp. You know?
Why not?
I agree.
Another guy that's blowing up is Book Knight, which I guess like shouldn't be a surprise because he was already highly thought of going into the combine. But everything I've seen about James Bouknight, has he missed? He has not missed a single shot at the combine, correct?
I think the number I saw was like 98 out of 100 threes. You know, they shoot 100 threes, which is, I mean, you know, you're shooting an empty gym. There's always like a little bit of variability, but there was a clip that came out, and you know, he has such a pure stroke. Like if you watch Bouknight shoot the basketball, it's hard not to fall in love. And it does feel like at the 6, 7, 8 range is where we have a lot of teams that have variability, where they may take a Scotty Barnes or they may take a Davion Mitchell. But James Bouknight probably has bumped himself up into that range where a team may say, hey, at 7, we'll take Bouknight because we want to have a scoring guard. And hey, Steph Curry at 7 wasn't too bad, so let's do that. So I could see Bouknight being a guy that boosts up and shoots up and gets a lot of people comparing him to a lot of ridiculous, you know, greats. You know, when I feel like he's more Monte Ellis than anything, but I could feel like a lot of people may really fall in love with him, which I'm excited for because we fell in love with Bouknight throughout the year. And when he played UConn,
I talked myself into UConn winning the Big East tournament and then going on a run. That did not happen.
I think we jinxed UConn, to be honest. We were all on the scent. That's the problem. You can't be on the scent with UConn. You just have to stay away.
Bouknight's balling out. He's kind of campaigning to go to the Knicks, isn't he? Like he's a New York kid. Like that's pretty cool that the Knicks have at least they won one playoff game, and it feels like the tide is turning with the franchise. And
it does feel like the Knicks went to the finals. Yeah.
Like people want to play for the Knicks. That's crazy. It's insane.
And Tibbs used to be the coach. Like you don't want to play for him because he's going to end your career. And now like every dude is like, he's the GOAT. Like I got to play for the GOAT.
They got like the 19th, 20th pick though. He's not going there unless they trade up for him.
Yeah, no. But they need a point guard. They're going to try to find a point guard.
For the Pacers at 13, which by the way is the Indiana Pacers having the 13th pick in the draft is the equivalent of the Xavier Musketeers being ranked 17th in the AP poll. It's like, you can set your watch to it. It is like, it just makes total sense. I don't even know. The stats might say this is the first time the Pacers have ever had the 13th pick. I don't believe it. I think the Pacers have the 13th pick literally every single year. And the question I have with the Pacers 13th pick is, what number do you think Corey Kispert will wear for the Pacers?
I will say this. I think that the Hornets and the Pacers, between the 11th pick and the 13th pick, they are licking their chops about Corey Kispert. You know what I mean? Corey Kispert's team is literally telling him there's no way we fall past 13. You know what I mean? Like they're all talking to each other. They're like, between the Hornets and the Pacers, there's no way we're falling past those two teams.
True, and I know Corey Kispert has got on Zillow and looked at Charlotte and Indianapolis already.
He might be working out in Charlotte because I can feel it in my loins. If Kupchak has a say, I think it's Kai Jones from Texas. But if it's Michael Jordan, it's Corey Kispert all day, especially with Gordon Hayward. There's no way it's not Kispert. So,
oh man, Kispert's awesome. I like Kispert a lot.
I like Kispert too, but I don't know if I like him that much.
You gotta laugh. We're not laughing at Corey Kispert. We're laughing at the Pacers and Hornets.
Yeah, we're laughing at our favorite franchises.
We've seen this story before.
Yeah, Frank Kaminsky comes to mind. Yeah.
Anything else? Any other non-combine stuff? It says here, I wrote this out. Coach K is retiring, so I want to shout him out for his final season coming up here. So
yeah, he did it. He did it.
Keep an eye on.
Shout out to Jay Wright for taking the Team USA throne from Coach K. By the way, Jay Wright going to be an assistant on the team going to Tokyo. So Villanova has kind of taken the Duke throne as far as recruiting through Team USA. So I'm excited about that.
You saying he did it just sarcastically about Coach K. It reminded me of the new Bo Burnham special where he's talking, where he has the song about Jeff Bezos.
Yeah,
he's like, you did it.
You did it.
I just picture you on the Coach
Born
K
in 1964. Yeah, Man, what a great special,
Mike
man.
Krzyzewski. You
We should do
did
that. Yeah. Let's work on that. Let's start making our own musical for Coach K.
I want to shout out you and Greg. You thank you for the
yes.
birthday gift. You made a
shout out Keller, by the way. Keller is a huge part of this.
While we were away, I turned 34 years old. I scheduled the
number
based
number
on,
34.
I scheduled the vacation based on the birthday on purpose. I didn't want to turn 34 on air, basically.
Yeah.
It's not a place you want to be.
Yeah, you don't want to be like Bo Burnham as you waited. You waited for midnight.
Yeah. Right. I did not want to have my crisis unfold live on the air. So I needed some time to process it. Now we're back. I'm okay.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, you made a shirt for me. You guys, you set that all up. You had Greg make a cameo, you and Keller, and I don't know. You played a hand wipe, but shout out to all you guys. That was very nice.
Yeah. Moses will lead us. Shout out to Homage. It was taking a new wrinkle on an old great shirt, and I have your shirt, by the way. I need to give you your shirt, and Kyle has a shirt for the listeners at home. Our old producer Kyle, he's going to get a shirt. Jim Cunningham. I don't know what we would call Jim in the One Shining Pod Titus and Tate universe, probably a loser, but he also has a shirt. And he's gonna be so upset. I'm just kidding, Jim. I love you to death. He has a shirt as well. And Tommy Alter, we got him a medium.
Oh, really?
So
the inside of the sleeve, so his biceps
he can rock that on the JJ Redick podcast, or Old Man in the Three. And
love it.
Yeah, so the shirt will be out and about for the people.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Finally, I wanted to shout out a man by the name of Greg. That's all I know. I know his name is Greg.
Yeah.
He lives in Tiburon, California. During my vacation, I went up to Napa. I did like a little road trip. I did the Jim Nance vacation.
Yeah.
We stopped at Carmel by the Sea, which is where Pebble Beach is.
Great place.
Being an Indy guy, it's hard for me to say Carmel because Carmel, Indiana exists, and every time I read Carmel, I think it's Carmel.
Yeah. Well, that kind of shows you the difference between the Midwest and California.
Like
the way that you accentuate things. Yeah.
Carmois by the Swa. You're like, what?
Yes.
Carmel by the Sea.
Did you just throw up out of your
mouth? So we stop at Carmel, as they call it, the Pebble Beach. I didn't play Pebble Beach, but I saw it, so that counts. It was cool. Nice little golf course they got there. I went to Sausalito, which is very.
I've been there.
Yeah, it's a quiet little sleepy thing just north of San Francisco. And then I went to Napa for a few days, which I don't need to go over my Napa experience. I had the most ridiculous like blue collar Napa. Like I learned quickly Napa is not for me, and I hit the eject button on the scene in Napa. I was like, this is too much. Like all I saw was like a bunch of Jim Nances walking around saying hello friends, and I was like, this is get me out of here. Get me the hell out of here. But I drank a ton of wine.
I was gonna say, at least had some good wine. That's what matters. Yeah.
I had we went to you have to schedule all these like wine tastings
tours.
And I didn't think to schedule them. I was like, I'm sure it's like the Coors Light brewery. You just like pull in and you're like, what's up? I'm here for the free beer. Definitely not the case. You got to like schedule them in advance, whatever. So I was like, shit, I don't know which one's to schedule. I don't know what the hell. And I start Googling wineries around Napa. I find there's a winery in the Napa Valley called Titus Vineyards.
Yeah.
It's spelled the exact same. And I got excited. I was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. So I was like, we have to go there. I fill out the little form. I'm like, can we please come tomorrow? I get the confirmation back. You're set. Come by at noon tomorrow. I go to Titus Vineyards. I walk in. The guy like makes a joke. He's like, I feel like I should be working for you. It's good to have you here. Are you part of the family? All that kind of stuff. I was like,
Yes.
And I immediately regret it because like immediately I'm like, this is like such a basic bitch move to just go to the place.
No, I mean, I kind of love it. This is great.
So I go out on the back patio, beautiful scene. The sun is at the right. It's noon, but it's like hitting the vineyard right, and it's glowing. And they got like a nice couch with a porch, and it's like a whole deal. And they're bringing out all the wines, and I know jack shit about wine. So like the guy's, he's pouring it into the glass, and then he's pointing into the color on the glass, and he's like, take a look at that color. And I'm like, yeah, it looks red to me.
Yeah. He's like, you see the legs on that? You're like, what?
Looks real. Yep, that's like it. I legitimately.
Yep, that's wine.
I have never had bad wine in my life. Like every wine to me is like different variations of good. So like that I know nothing about this shit. I just know I know cabs are a little heavier than the others. So anyway, point is, I'm sitting there pretending to know what's going on. There's one other group there, Tate. And the guy he's a good old boy. I can tell. Like he's got a big pot belly and a half mullet, and he's got this whole scene going on. And he's with his family. And as they're standing up, I hear one of the girls with him mention that she is from Indiana. And she says she's like, yeah, I just moved out here from Indiana. I guess she had moved to Sacramento. I hear this out of from across the way. So I turned to them as they're getting ready to leave. And I was like, hey, you guys from Indiana? Whereabouts you from? And they're like, we're from the west side of Indianapolis. And I was like, oh my God, I'm from Indianapolis. I'm from the west side too. I'm from Brownsburg. Whatever. We start comparing notes. The guy who was there, his name was, we have a new guy because this guy's name was Guy, first of all. His last name,
Guy Fieri.
His last name was Titus.
What?
And he said, so I started talking to him. He's like, yeah, I don't know shit about wine. I just came here because it said Titus on the side. I was like, what is, and he goes, I'm from Indiana. And I was like, well, where's your family?
This is the Spider-Man meme in real life.
Yes. And I was like, where's your family like originally from? Like, are you from Indianapolis or are you from like somewhere else? He's like, no, most of my family's from Northern Indiana, like Kokomo area. And I was like, holy shit, because my mind explodes. That's where my family's from.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm really messed up.
And so, long story short, I'd go all the way to Napa to have this family reunion, like that would have been better served happening in Logansport or Kokomo, Indiana, over like a couple Coors Lights, and we're drinking this wine.
Honestly, it's such a small world. I love this.
But I wanted to shout out Greg in Tiburon, which is by Sausalito. I went into this bar one night to watch one of the NBA games. This hole in the wall place. They had like 5 bar seats. I belly up to one of them. A guy comes in. He's a local. You start making small talk with him. Long story short, he starts asking me what I do. I try to explain what this job is to him. We got a new listener. I want to cut to the chase. Greg said, I'm going to download this podcast. He's an old dude. He's like, I have no idea what podcasts are. I'm going to download it. I'm going to listen. He goes, I love college basketball so much.
Wow.
I went to Oregon. I'm a big Oregon Duck fan. I love Dana Altman. And they said, you guys don't like Duke, do you? Because I hate Duke. And I was like, Greg, I have a podcast for you.
Greg,
download this. So
Greg shout out to Coach K for the farewell tour. Greg, we got a fun run ahead for you. That's going to be great.
So there you go. I wanted to shout him out. Greg, if you are in fact listening, and there's no way I will ever know whether you are or not, welcome. I want to welcome you. It was good to meet you. It was good to enjoy dinner with you. If you're not listening, then we'll cut all this from the podcast.
Yeah. and shout out to Guy Titus too. What a guy.
Titus. His name was Guy Titus.
This is awesome.
And then I asked the guy that works at the vineyard. I was like, does this happen a lot? Like you just get a bunch of people named Titus that come in here and pretend like they know jack shit about wine. He just like goes, yeah. He's like very defeated.
He's like, yeah, that's kind of the thing for you guys.
That's literally the only customers we get.
Yeah, that's who comes to the door. It's like a family reunion.
And tank tops and flip flops come out here.
He was like, you don't even know how many people I've met from Kokomo.
One guy was just in here trying to shotgun our wine, and I just explained to him that's not how it works. Man, it's good to be back. Vacation is over. Thanks for listening, everybody. We will be back later in the week. Anything else, Tate? Is that it?
No, let's do it. Shout out to Coach K. Congratulations again. Can't wait to watch the final.
Thoughts and prayers to the NC State baseball team. Hang the banner.
Oh man, hang the banner, please. Hey there, thanks for watching Titus and Tate. For the full friend of the program experience, subscribe right below and come join us for all things college basketball. The action is heating up. Come join Titus and Tate.